Hi, my name is Linda Cirulli-Burton, and welcome to this channel named Above the Battleground, ACIM. I fell in love with ancient history when I was a very little girl, so I think that my future was cast. I needed to become a teacher so that I could keep learning and keep teaching. And I was really lucky because in high school, I taught a course called European Culture Studies. I was supposed to cover thousands of years over a 2-semester period, but I really got into some hot water, I think, that because by Christmas I hadn't gotten out of ancient Rome. So later in life, I was really, really lucky in that I got a job as an adjunct professor at a local college, and it was for ancient humanities. And I cannot tell you a lie, I loved every single minute of teaching those classes. However, I have a confession. I never read Homer's Iliad. I would teach excerpts from it. I would show scenes from the movie Troy from 2004 with Brad Pitt playing the part of Achilles. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. But I never read it. I never read the book. So I promised myself that someday I would. So when I left the formal classroom after the fall of 2021, I knew I was going to read it at some point. And so I did. I started in October of last year, and I will honestly tell you, it took me 6 months to do it. But I did it. And the gifts that were waiting for me, particularly in book 24, it was just off the charts. Above the Battleground is based on the teachings of a spiritual self-study path known as A Course in Miracles. I've been a student of A Course in Miracles for a long time, but it's only been recently that I decided that I needed to do this in earnest, that I needed to truly apply the lessons to my daily life. And so I thought if I started a video series, it would allow it to go deeper within me and maybe be of some benefit to you. You know, you teach what you want to learn, and I just loved ancient history. A Course in Miracles tells us that there are 2 minds. The Son of God split from God the Father, and when the Son of God split, there was another split into 2 minds. The ego mind, which is the wrong mind, which contains sin, guilt, fear, attack, fragmentation, differentiation, isolation, all those really nifty words. And then the other mind is the right mind, the mind of spirit. And when we're in that right mind, there is a sense of oneness that doesn't exist anywhere else. And it is that you are my brother. You're not my adversary. I have undone my separateness with you. All that I give to myself. To give and receive are the same. And it is inside of that right mind, the mind of spirit, that we know that we really never left our home in God. So in order to piece together my reaction to Homer's Iliad, I relied on the glossary index for a couple of definitions. So I want to read one to you called decision. It says, decision, the last remaining freedom as prisoners of this world, is our power to decide. While unknown in heaven, decision is necessary here, as it was our decision to be separate from our source that must be corrected. This is accomplished by choosing the Holy Spirit instead of the ego, right-mindedness instead of wrong-mindedness. Because, you know, that's the miracle. The miracle is when I change my mind, when I change my teacher from ego to the Holy Spirit, when my teacher shows me the oneness, this is where everything can change. Now, I also found a few sentences in the transcript series, published also by the Foundation for A Course in Miracles and written by Dr. Ken Wapnick. And I just want to share a couple of sentences. It says, "You and I are the same because we share the same interests, the same need, and the same purpose. We all have the same ego thought system, and we all have the same need to undo it." And I thought, oh my gosh, this so perfectly described what was going on in book 24 of the Iliad, that everything became clearer to me. First, let me say that the translation that I used for Homer's Iliad was by Robert Fagles, and an incredible translation it is. So just a little bit of context. By time Homer's Iliad begins, the Trojan War has been going on for 10 years. It began because of the alleged kidnapping of the beautiful Helen from the king of Sparta in Greece. And so now she's been brought to Troy, and all of Greece is aligned to bring her back home. So the war's been going on for 10 years. So basically the Iliad covers the last few weeks, I think actually 55 days of the war, and it will center around Achilles, the rage of Achilles. Now, there are numerous reasons why Achilles is furious, but I can honestly say that none comes close to what will happen to him as a warrior when his beloved comrade Patroclus, is killed by Prince Hector, the Trojan Prince Hector. And what will happen is that Achilles, then everything is the murder of Hector. Hector's fate is sealed, and so it is that Achilles will kill him. But the rage of Achilles doesn't stop there. It will now continue with the corpse. And so what he does is he takes the corpse of Hector, attaches it to his chariot, and his chariot has the greatest horses ever, and they will run furiously around the walls of Troy, so that King Priam, the father of Hector, will be able to see what's going on with his son. So once we get into book 24, Priam has found his way into the camp of Achilles, not without the help of the gods, let me just say. And when he arrives there, what he wants is the body of his son, so that his son can be given the appropriate burial that he deserves and that is needed. Now, the scene between Priam and Achilles is very, very profound, because what happens here is that Priam appeals to the sense that Achilles has of his own love and affection for his father. Now, Peleus is alive, but the father of Achilles does not know what Achilles knows, and that is that Achilles will never return home. That die is cast. He was to choose between a long life or a short one of honor and glory, and he chose the honor and glory, so he's not going home. And Priam appeals to the pain that Peleus will feel, because that is what he feels towards the loss of his son Hector. And so he requests, please, to give me that body. And he says something that was very, very touching in the movie and also was legitimately in the epic literature. I have endured what no one on earth has ever done before. I put to my lips the hands of the man who killed my son. These words stirred within Achilles a deep desire to grieve for his own father. Taking the old man's hand, he gently moved him back, and overpowered by memory, both men gave way to grief. Priam wept freely for man-killing Hector, throbbing, crouching before Achilles' feet, as Achilles wept himself, now for his father, now for Patroclus once again, and their sobbing rose and fell throughout the house. What happened in that instance is that both men reached their decision maker and went into the mind of spirit, where they found oneness, where they felt a shared identity. And this made all the difference. There was another scene that really touched me as well. Achilles is going to release the body of Hector to his father, but he became very, very concerned over what that body looked like. And so he wanted the body to be bathed, anointed, covered with fresh clothing. And he himself carried that body to the Father. And I will say that that also, in the right mind, that would choose to do that was just very, very touching. As you can see, I'm having a big response. And then finally, ultimately, Priam expresses the fear that in trying to get his son's body back to Troy, that something will go amiss, maybe more battle, something will happen, and he won't get to bury his son in the appropriate way. And this is what happens. The swift runner Achilles reassured him quickly. All will be done, old Priam, as you command. I will hold our attack as long as you require. With that, he clasped the old king by the wrist, by the right hand, to free his heart from fear. And those instances that I've shared with you, instances of going into the mind of spirit and reacting as though we are one. Whenever I run across this in literature, in the movies, I think I cry. And I think actually it happens to a lot of people that their eyes fill with tears. So I have hope for all of us, that all of us will find our decision maker and make a decision for the right mind, for the mind of spirit, where there is oneness, where there is unity, where you are my brother and not my enemy. So thank you for being with me in Homer's Iliad, and I look forward to sharing more with you. Thank you.